Have you heard of mythical creatures with features that are too ridiculous to be true? What if I told you that these creatures existed? Today's video shows 10 of the craziest mythical creatures that actually existed. Watch till the end, because our number 1 entry is out of the world. Moby Dick. Moby Dick isn't a myth as many of us thought. It may have existed many years ago. The story goes that a vengeful whale once lived in the water. Sailors and fishermen encountered it, but couldn't exactly describe it. In 1820, Captain George Pollard Jurr commanded the Essex when this strange whale sank the vessel. Luckily, he survived the crash and returned to Nantucket, where he was given the 2 brothers to captain. 2 years later, it crashed on a coral reef, and he realized he was unlucky at sea. His troubles with the vessel were thanks to an 85-foot albino sperm whale that directly attacked and smashed into it. The whale returned for the 2nd time and succeeded, causing the ship's occupants to run for their dear lives. Pollard was not in the vessel when the accident occurred. When he returned, he saw a colleague who described what the whale looked like. It was from there onwards that the legend of Moby Dick was born. Similar stories are common in urban legends. Dire wolves. If you've seen Game of Thrones, you already know much about dire wolves. These creatures are depicted as gigantic wolves capable of taking down a large human. They are vicious, efficient killers and hard to train. Despite stories depicting them as myths, the chances are that they were real animals. They went extinct about 9,500 years ago, when the last major ice age ended. Although they were not gigantic monsters as portrayed in movies and books, they were big animals. Most specimens studied showed they were the same size as modern gray wolves. They were efficient predators. They had the strongest bite force. This helped them prey on animals like camels, horses, and even humans. It's likely tales of their ferocity gave life to the mythological abilities of the animal, which persist today. Sadly, dire wolves are long gone, even if they sometimes pop up in our nightmares. Emoji. Emoji was a Korean dragon, which also resembles a form of Chinese dragon. It is often depicted as a long snake-like reptile with 4 legs. Unlike European dragons, it did not have wings. Instead, it lived on land and water. Ironically, scientists have not found such a creature in fossil records, but something similar is likely. The titanobo. This snake was the largest to walk on the ground. Various specimens suggest that it grew to 42 feet long. It is so unlikely that anyone in Korea has seen the bones of a titanobo, as the creature lived in the rainforests across South America. They died 58 million years ago, so comparing them to the emoji is coincidental. Like most dragon myths, this one likely arose from ancient people who found bones belonging to extinct species. Korean findings that gave rise to this myth probably came from marine reptiles or dinosaur fossils. Stories of the spread so fast that it exploded into a mythological beast. Dragons. Dragons are one of the most popular mythical creatures on our planet. They've been depicted in many forms across Asia, Africa, and Europe. Some of the earliest examples include the Moshosu from ancient Mesopotamia, the dragon from Beowulf. In every depicting the dragon is a large serpentine creature with 2 wings and 4 legs. Nearly all of them can fly and breathe a fire. Over the centuries, they were fictional creations with unique abilities. Although scientists have not agreed on the ideal description of a dragon, they acknowledge their existence. Ancient people have found dinosaur fossils and drawn inspiration from these gigantic beasts. Unfortunately, the bones of misunderstood fauna that went extinct within the same time period also led to confusion. Some contemporary animals also helped researchers paint a more complete picture of the dragon, such as alligators, Gila monsters, Komodo dragons, and other giant reptiles. Rocks. The roc was a large bird of prey found in mythology, particularly prominent in the Middle East. The bird is famous in countless fairy tales and folklore in the region, and it's virtually impossible to live in the Middle East without being exposed to one story or another. The description of the roc varies, but most people agree it resembles an eagle large enough to pick up an elephant. The roc also represents a fear of being picked up and carried off without a means of defending oneself. Maybe this creature didn't possess all the features attributed to it, but fossil records show that a creature resembling it may have existed. Judging by what researchers think, it could have easily been large and predatory. It shares similarities with modern animals, like the elephant bird of Madagascar. Sailors may have also contributed to the existence of this myth. because they've often described a giant eagle capable of carrying newborn lambs. If this is anything to go by, we cannot rule out the possibility that this animal once roamed our planet. Griffins. The griffin is a mythological creature with the body, tail, and hind legs of a lion along with 4 legs, wings, and an eagle's head. It has been a part of folklore for many years and is often portrayed as a guardian of valuable artifacts and treasures. This description persisted through the medieval period, eventually leading to the griffin being adopted as a Christian symbol of divine power. The griffin is widely represented in various cultures across North Africa, Europe, and Asia. Its origins can be traced back to ancient times, with some of the earliest depictions found in the Egyptian city of Horicon, dating between 3300 and 3100 BC. Similar to many mythological creatures, the griffin's origins may be linked to early discoveries of dinosaur fossils. Adrian Mayer, a researcher from Stanford University, has suggested that Scythian nomads of Central Asia could have come across fossils of protoceratops and mistaken them for griffins. While protoceratops were not true dinosaurs, they bore a strong resemblance to them, making it easy for individuals unfamiliar with dinosaurs to confuse the two. The skull of protoceratops, with its beak-like snout and approximately lion-sized dimensions, likely contributed to this historical misunderstanding. Blemia. When sailors recounted stories of mysterious beings from Africa and Asia, they often evoked thoughts of the Blemia, described as headless men in Herodotus. The histories these creatures were depicted as being covered in hair, with some facial features situated on their chest. The legend of the Blemia fascinated Europeans, leading to a plethora of literary works by writers such as Shakespeare's Sir Walter Raleigh and Pliny the Elder. Despite the lack of any concrete evidence supporting the existence of the Blemia, some scientists speculate that the myth may have been inspired by ancient encounters with ancestors of modern-day gorillas. Gorillas, now commonly found in zoos worldwide, were not documented in scientific journals until the mid-1800s. Tales of encountering unusually large primates could have contributed to the creation of the Blemia myth. Another possible source of inspiration for this creature comes from African tribesmen who, while walking, lowered their heads, potentially distorting their appearance and creating an illusion of facial features on their chest. It's plausible to consider the myth of the Blemia as a blend of descriptions inspired by gorillas and distorted perceptions of tribesmen, gradually evolving into a singular mythological being over time. Platypus. This mythological creature is fascinating because, unlike its counterparts on this list, it has not gone extinct. However, what we know today is the platypus differs from what 18th century Europeans knew. The platypus was first described by Captain John Hunter in 1798. Hunter sent what he believed to be a sketch of the animal to Britain for analysis. During that time, it was common practice for sailors to send pictures of newly discovered species to scientists. Unfortunately, the scientists who received Hunter's sketch were skeptical of its authenticity and did not believe it to be real. As a result, little to no research was conducted to uncover more details about the creature. It wasn't until George Shaw described the animals in scientific literature that it began to be taken more seriously. Shaw referred to it as a strange animal, providing some corroboration of what Hunter had reported. Kraken. Who hasn't heard about the Kraken? Even if you're not an avid fiction reader, you've seen it in movies. This colossal beast lives deep beneath the sea and pulls ships down with its mighty tentacles. Tales of the Kraken are found throughout European literature and often describe it as a massive creature resembling a floating island. Sailors had been describing these creatures for millennia, and while their descriptions were widely inaccurate, there was an iota of truth in them. The Kraken may have been depicted as a violent creature that sank huge ships, but it was in fact a colossal squid. These squids can reach up to 33 feet long and weigh 700 kilos or more. They possess strong tentacles filled with suction cups. Much like octopuses and other squids, their large, powerful claws give them a grabbing advantage over others of their kind. Colossal squids have existed for thousands of years, but were first officially described in 1925. The first live specimen wasn't captured until 2007. Researchers suggest that tales of the colossal squid likely gave birth to the myth of the Kraken, as these squids have been found washed up on beaches around the world. Unicorn. Unicorns are often depicted as white horses with spiraled horns protruding from their foreheads. and they are commonly associated with magical traits. This mythical creature appears in various world cultures and can be traced back to ancient Greece, where Pliny the Younger described it. It is even mentioned in the Christian Bible. The concept of the unicorn has evolved from descriptions of real animals. Today, the unicorn is sometimes compared to the modern rhinoceros. Pliny the Elder's description included a creature with the head of a stag elephant's feet and a boar's tail, along with a single black horn projecting from the middle of its forehead. Over time, this description transformed into the mythical tale of a unicorn. In European folklore, the unicorn was also considered a majestic beast.